uniquely in the Quran, you will find that Allah says, I am your God, worship me. Right? The full concept of monotheism. Right? Now, what are the consequences of monotheism? Right? The first consequences of monotheism is you're going to have a broad outlook of life. Someone who believes in this concept of monotheism, they understand that Allah is the creator, right? He would understand that my Lord and your Lord and the Lord of everyone, everything here that exists is Allah. We share the same God. We have a relation with one another. Okay, we understand the concept that all of our God is the same God actually, right? We believe in one God. So his sympathy and love would not be confined to certain individuals, no. Or among humankind, or among the Malays, or among the Indians, or among Singaporeans, or among humans. No. It extends beyond that. We are not going to transgress our limits against plants, against animals, against the environment, because we understand that all of this is the kingdom of God. And so we are not going to be unjust towards them, right? So that is the first one. Second, we would have self-respect and high self-esteem, right? So when we understand that the concept that Allah alone has power, Allah alone deserves the right to be worshipped, then we are now independent and fearless of any other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why quite perplexed sometimes when we talk about certain people from our community, that they are afraid of other entities more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll give you an example. Sometimes we find our community, now excuse me if I might be wrong, I might not be politically correct. You will find that when we pray, you're just going to Allahu Akbar, and then you're just going to, go through the motions of prayer. All right? But if we were to, for example, step on an orange that was placed as a form of offerings by other communities, and then our face would change color, and then we will get worried and we just say, oh my God, what did I do? Ya Allah, what's happening here? And therefore it becomes the center of our attention. Right? We are more worried of that incident, and as opposed to when we are facing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we are praying. So where is the priority that we have set in ourselves? Right? Because we need to understand that if as Muslims we say that there is no higher power than Allah, and that should give us our high self-esteem. Okay? And this attitude, of course, and these characteristics would not be found in those who disbelieve in Allah, all right? Because they believe in some other creations of Allah that have limitations. But when we talk about Allah, we say that Allah has no limitations. Allah does not need rest. There is no rest day for Allah. Allah does not need to sleep or take a rest. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. That the sleep doesn't overcome, it doesn't overwhelm, since He is all aware at all times. Right? So we would be safe in our conviction that Allah will look after us. Third, it will give us the sense of modesty and humbleness. Right? We will not be arrogant, we will not be proud, because we understand that whatever that Allah has given us, this is actually not from our own doing, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at any point of time, Allah would be able to retract it from us. Allah will be able to take it away from us. Right? In contrast, you will find that as those who doesn't believe in this concept, all right, whenever he achieves worldly merits, he becomes proud. He says that this is from his own work, this is from my own doing, this is from my own hard work. Right? So sometimes he just cut Allah or cuts God out of the equation. That whatever goodness, it is all from me. It comes from my own hard work. Fourth, you will find that Muslims or someone who believe in this concept or the concept of monotheism will be virtuous and upright, right? Because they understand that the way for salvation, that the way for him to enter paradise, to gain the pleasure of Allah, is only by purifying his soul and by doing all forms of righteousness. Right? So he understands this, and therefore he shall be a righteous person. On the other hand, right, those who doesn't believe in this concept, so when I talk about these believers, I'm talking about the concept who everyone has their own right, right? Whatever that we discuss here, we have to understand that Islam gives every individual their rights to religion and to their set of beliefs. And we should not obstruct them. We should not insult them. We should not deter them. That's their own rights. All right. But when we talk about this belief, this concept, right, those who disbelieve in the concept of monotheism, we will find that sometimes they are not being as upright as they could have been. Why? Because they believe that certain individuals have atoned their sins or have done their part for the rest of them. So sometimes you will find that, oh, I do not need to pray because that person has prayed, so I do not need to pray. You find that, oh, the woman covered up. Those few individual women who covers up would suffice, so I do not need to cover up. I do not need to pray. No, we don't have that concept in Islam. Of course, there's something like it in when we talk about fardu kifayah, but there is something known as fardu ain that every Muslims must adhere and perform, right? And must observe them. And this is why you will find that we cannot bribe Allah. We cannot say that, oh, Allah give you this, bribe Allah or bribe malaikat or bribe the Prophet and then gain admittance into paradise. None of them have the right to give admittance into paradise except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. All right. Next, you will find that those who believe in the concept of monotheism would have firm faith. Right? They believe that whatever that they have done, they believe that Allah's grace, Allah's bounty, Allah's treasure, Allah's powers are infinite. So they know that whatever that they do, they feel safe, and whatever that they rely on Allah, whenever they rely on Allah, they know that Allah will have their back. Right? On the contrary, you will find that this believer would then feel at times overwhelmed, right, by despair. Why? Because they depend on someone who yields limited power. There are certain limitations to the higher power that they believe in, or the higher power cannot do this if there's certain conditions and so on and so forth. So this is why we'll find that when we talk about Allah, Allah has sole sovereignty and Allah has all the rights to do whatever that He wishes for. But of course, Allah is always just. He is not going to do injustice towards His creations, as how Allah has mentioned in Hadith Qudsi, Ya ibadi inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi wa ja'altahu bainakum muharraman. Bainakum. So you will find that in the Hadith, Prophet says that in Hadith Qudsi, Allah says, "O my slaves, I have inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi. I have prohibited injustice upon myself, and I have made injustice prohibited among you. Fala tazalamu." So do not do injustice towards one another. Right? So Allah is a just God. So when a believer, right, devotes his resources in observing Allah's commandments, he is confident that he would get Allah's support and he would get his reward in the hereafter. Right? He's confident, full of confidence. All right? The sixth point would be bravery. You will find that when you talk about the concept of monotheism, you will find that the Muslims would now not be affected by cowardice. Right? He's going to be brave. Why? He's not going to be overwhelmed by the love of fear, extreme love of fear, extreme love of life, and he's not going to fear death, because he understands that this concept is the life in this world is a temporary one, and then that he shall meet Allah. And if he is a true believer, it is going to be a transition into something that is better that Allah have in store for him. So he understands that concept. And so he's going to be brave in his life. If it's true, if it's what Allah commands, he's going to be brave, and he's going to observe whatever that Allah have in store for him. All right. Now, this is the last topic that we're going to be talking about. That is the signs of true monotheism.